So I wanted to do an update today of my work with Ellen the Exvangelical. That's my Gemini AI engine that I'm going to use to help write videos and content for the channel. If you watched the last video, you will remember that I built Ellen, and I've also used her now to critique the video that I made on Trump supporters, if you remember that one. If you're interested in seeing it and you haven't, I'll put a link in the description. So I asked Ellen to critique that. She didn't like it. And then I asked her to rewrite the script in a friendlier way for the Exvangelical and the deconstructing crowd. And generally speaking, that went very well. But one thing I noticed as she did that, and I'll just show you on screen here. So right at the beginning of the script says, "Hey everyone, if you're watching this, chances are you've spent some time wrestling with big questions about God, heaven and hell. Maybe you grew up, like I did, with a picture of a punitive God, a God who's quick to anger, quick to judge and ready to condemn vast numbers of people to eternal torment." And one of the things that I realize, of course, is she is writing in her voice. She's writing from the point of view of being someone who is deconstructing or an exvangelical. And I am not. So she's written me a script that I'm unable to read in an authentic way because it doesn't reflect my experience. So I realized what I needed to do really was introduce myself to Ellen and get her to build a profile of me so that she understands where I'm coming from, so that she can write scripts that I can authentically read. And so that's what I did. So I'll just share with you the prompts that I went through, and she's titled it Understanding a New Church Perspective. Now I'm just sharing with you here the query that I set in motion. It's quite long. So I've been reviewing the script you wrote for me about the words diversity and variety. What is obvious to me is that you need to know who I am, especially because I do not share that deconstructing or exvangelical journeys. Being raised with Swedenborg's teachings all my life, I felt that many of the questions my peers were grappling with were addressed and answered in Swedenborg's work, from which I was taught as a child and a teenager. I never experienced the kind of religious trauma that many describe, simply because the teachings of the new church never encouraged or even allowed that kind of abuse to take place. I did experience the anger of the evangelicals through their rejection of the church I grew up in, but I never had to leave my family behind for my views. However, I'm getting ahead of myself. What I realize is that you need to understand me and my journey because you'll be scripting things for me to present, and I need to speak authentically from my own experiences as much as I desire to hear others and validate their journey. I believe my church has much to offer them, so I need you to ask me a series of questions, one at a time, until you know me enough to construct a comprehensive profile of me, which I will add to your knowledge files. You're free to ask anything you like, but the focus of this exercise is to provide you with an understanding of how I can constructively engage in this work of presenting something of value to the exvangelical and deconstructing groups. So now what Ellen has done is asked me a series of questions. And here's the first one down here. Can you describe your early exposure to Swedenborg's teachings? What were the key elements or concepts that were emphasized in your upbringing within the new church? So that was a very helpful exercise. Ellen asked me from memory about 7 questions. I have on occasion gone back and corrected things that she's got wrong or misunderstood, or even like leaving the conversation aside overnight, thinking about things, coming back with more information. Quite a lengthy conversation we've had. And as we've gone along, she's constructed a more and more detailed view of my perspective of things. I would say it's a very worthwhile exercise to go through if you're building an AI engine. Give them an understanding of who you are. So once Ellen has constructed this profile of me, one of the last things that I did was to ask this question, and I think this is really important to bear in mind. Can you think of areas I need to work on, improve, or re-examine? What blind spots might I have? And so she's taken everything that I've spoken about and she's reprocessed it to suggest a couple of areas that I could think about. And I think what she's offered here is quite useful stuff. Some of it I'm aware of, and it just hones in on what I need to be thinking about when it comes to presenting this material to this particular audience. So you can see she's written the inherently good versus self-centered pendulum swing as one, prophecies of the Bible and Swedenborg's authority, old forms and institutional critiques, assumptions about the audience's theological journey. So those are her kind of key concerns as a person speaking to me, or listening to me indeed when I speak. So that just helps focus and clarify the scripts that are written. And the final thing to mention is that as we're going through this process, I noticed that there becomes a confusion and a blurring of the lines of me as David and her as Ellen. This was several days ago, and I've attempted to correct this in various ways. But even in the processes in the last couple of days, she's often referred to me as Ellen, and I've had to correct it again and again. So what I've done, aside from building this profile of me, David, into Ellen's knowledge bank, is I've actually constructed a second AI engine, and it's this one here, David's scriptwriter. And basically, the role of this AI is to double check whatever Ellen puts out. So here, as an example, this is Ellen's rewritten script from my Trump video, and just getting this AI engine, David's scriptwriter, to make sure that it is written in my voice, not Ellen's. So look, that's a couple of insights from me using this engine over the last week or so, getting used to it, its foibles, its weaknesses. I have to say it's been incredibly useful. Like on Monday morning, I sat down and I planned 2 services basically using this. So if you've got any questions or queries, then please feel free to drop a comment here or on the Facebook group. I'm very happy to chat things through. If you want any pointers, I will give you whatever I've gleaned. But yeah, go ahead, have a go yourself, build one of these things. I think they're fabulous. Talk to you soon.